Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Shri Prapana Jivanamrita Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya-charitamrta Acharya Brinda Ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi Hari Haribo. Okay. So, reading from Prapana Jivanamritam, Positive and Progressive Immortality, arranged beautifully by Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj. We're reading Sri Bhakta Vachanamritam. Who knows what that means? Bhakti Vachanamritam. Bhakti, so Bhakta, Sri Bhakta Vachanamrita. So that means the Bhaktas are the devotees, Vachanamrita, the nectar of the words, the speech of the devotees. Anukulyasya Sankalpa, acceptance of the favorable. So we're hearing about accepting favorable things and developing unlimited pure devotion, which is we just heard a quote from Bilva Mangala Thakur about the realization of the nature of unconditional devotion. Now we hear from Raghupati Upadhyaya, excuse me, that was from Raghupati Upadhyaya, Raghupati Upadhyayasya. So the asya means from. Okay, so Guru Maharaj's introduction to this sloka, this is number 20 in chapter 3. Braja rasa shresthatam. Okay, the super excellence of devotion in the mood of Vrindavan. So Braja rasa. And then Shrestha means like the highest, the greatest, the most beautiful. Then the translation is of persons afraid of material existence, some worship of the Shruti, scriptures, some worship of the Smriti, scriptures, supplementary religious codes. In other words, Smriti is commentary on the Shruti, the Shastra, by great souls. And others worship the Mahabharata. But as far as I am concerned, I worship Sri Nanda Maharaj, in whose courtyard the Supreme Absolute Truth is playing. Sri Raghupati Upadhyaya. I can't place Raghupati Upadhyaya. Sounds South Indian, but I don't know for sure. Maybe connected with Ramanujacharya. Okay, so the Sanskrit that of this, what we just read in English, Shrutim apare smritim itare bharatam anye bhajata bhava bitaha aham iha nandavande yasyalinde param brahma. Okay. Shrutim apare smritam, Shruti and the Smriti, itara bharatam anye bhajatam bhava bhutaha. Okay, some worship the scriptures, bhajatam, and then others worship Mahabharata, Some worship the Smriti, some worship the Shruti, the Shastra, and then Bharata means Mahabharata, and they worship Bhajato. Bhava Bitaha must mean something about scared of material existence. So ahang, that means I, iha nandam bande. So bande nandam, like bandeham Sri Guru Sri Uttapar Kamalam. Bande means I give my deep worship or respect. Yasya linde param brahma. To that param brahma, yasya linde, in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj, he is playing. So that supreme truth, param brahma, is playing in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj. So very direct, beautiful, perfect delineation of the ultimate supremacy of Sri Krishna and the ultimate nature of him as, the personality of Godhead who has only interest in loving exchange. This is like the nature of reality, is to exchange in a loving mood. So as Vaishnavas who are attempting to, enter into this high thing, we have a chance, as given by Rupa Goswami. One of the necessities in devotional service is to exchange in a loving mood with the Vaishnavas. So we exchange prasadam, we exchange gifts, we reveal the mind, and we inquire with sincerity from the depth of our heart. This is the opportunity, this is the chance we have as aspiring Vaishnavas, as devotees who want to enter into this high thing. We have to throw ourselves into it with faith and give what we have as best we can to the devotees that surround us. And in turn, they will give to us, and in turn, we'll naturally grow. And by the nature of reality, we'll have some disagreements. And those disagreements will cause us to develop in, spiritual life. Again, thesis, antithesis, synthesis. It's a natural growing, developing process that reflects the reality of, the progressive development of loving exchange. So it happens to us in the material world to enable us to become purified. Together we find out more and more how it is that we can become more and more pure servants, better and better servants, by being with each other, helping each other, and growing with each other. Srila Prabhupada compared the living in a temple and developing in a temple to a big bag of rough rocks. And when you shake that bag, the rough rocks rub against each other and they eventually become round. So that's like temple life. We rub against each other. Sometimes there's conflict, apparent conflict, and sometimes there's happy exchange of devotional life. But at any rate, this causes us to lose the rough edges of our material conditioning. And eventually we become round and smooth, simple, surrendered Vaishnavas. And so that's a beautiful example. Do you understand that example, Didi? Yeah? You understand English really well. You just have to learn more how to speak, right? That's another kind of, well, it's Prabhupada's metaphor. There's a lot of metaphors in English which, describe the nature of how we can progress in Krishna consciousness. This is one metaphor that Srila Prabhupada gave. Jai Gurudev. Jai Gurudev. So there's so many metaphors. Why? Because Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has told us that the material world is a dictionary for the spirit. So everything really is a metaphor. Everything around us is a metaphor indicating the presence of the Absolute and the nature of the reality, the energy of reality, which of course ultimately is Srimati Radharani's energy that we're living within, but currently living within a distorted reflection of that reality. But, by the grace of our gurus, we're beginning to sense something of what that is. And even that small sensing is enough to throw ourselves into, in full engagement in Krishna consciousness. It's so powerful. We have nothing, actually. Very little taste. But, based on that, even that, it's so amazing that we are ready to, commit material suicide. Scrape away the material covering. That identity which has given us, shelter, happiness, but also sadness and misery, with which we've constructed so many different, safety valves and apparent shelters. And now we have to give those up, and, thinking about that is scary because, we found some safety in the material world, in these supposed shelters. Of course, ultimately they collapse. Finally in death, and depending on our karma, along the way in our lives, the shelter just collapsed and we're stuck again. So, leaving behind the temporary material world is our goal and our aim, and trying to transform ourselves from the false reality, I am Colombian, I am American, I am British, I am Australian, I am New Zealander, I am this, I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm this or that. We all think like that, but actually it's different. And really, like all these movements for equality and sameness and all this stuff, really are perverted reflections of the spiritual reality of ourselves as all being souls who are by necessity inclined or propelled towards natural giving of ourselves in service to the Lord. This is like natural. So all these, feminist things, I want to be equal, I want this, it's all physical, it's all bodily or mental. It has nothing to do with spirit. And really, we've talked before, in spirit, how do we transfer spirit to our current situation? Well, we accept our particular body and mind that's been given to us by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we try to utilize that as best we can in service. And according to the parameters and the outlines of service given by our gurus, we act accordingly. So, in spite of the modern trends, we have to say, women act differently than men. Duh. It's so obvious women are completely different than men. I had kids, the girls grew up, and it wasn't as though we were imposing things onto them like they claim. It's all an imposition of society. That's why they think they're feminine and all this, bull. But actually, it's a natural product of the reality of our particular position within the modes of material nature and within the, as devotees, within the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He has placed us in this situation. He has given us a chance to, engage in His service and begin to see how, He's behind everything. But, we act and accept our particular position and act accordingly and know that the inner truth will come out more and more, and we'll feel more and more happy. And in spite of the material differences, we'll feel together with our God brothers and God sisters as one equals. It's just natural. We're all serving together for the Supreme Lord. So naturally, we're brothers and sisters. It doesn't matter about the particular type of body or anything else, because we're dealing on a different plane of existence. And this is the grace of our gurus. We get to be in that kind of situation. Even though it's difficult to kind of juggle the, the external natures with the internal reality, nonetheless, in temples and in exchanges amongst devotees, by the grace of our gurus, generally, not always, but generally, that mood of devotional exchange prevails. And as a result of that mood, we have a feeling, within that we are together and we are protected and we'll go on by the grace of our gurus and by the grace of those who are around us, actually. This life sadhu sangha is so important. All these things are important for growing and developing in Krishna consciousness. So that was Raghupati Upadhyaya. I'll try and look that up and see who he is. Probably South Indian. Okay, next is, wait a minute, do I do this or do I do Chaitanya-charitamrita? This is Rupa Goswami. It's a pretty long verse with, interpretation by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So, Bengali poetry giving interpretation of the sloka given by Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Srila Sridhar Maharaj gives this sloka contained within his work, but he derives from the works of his guru, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and gives beautiful slokas and poems written by Saraswati Thakur. In this case, explaining the Rupa Goswami's writing, Rupa Padanam, the lotus feet of Rupa. This sloka comes from. It doesn't say exactly where, but Rupa has given it. So that we'll cover tomorrow. Jai Shri Shri Prapana Jivanamritam Ki Jai. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj. Okay. Now Shri Chaitanya-charitamrta Ki Jai. Srila Krishna Ras Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat Acharya Brinda Ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. Okay, Sri Chaitanya-charitamrta ki Jai. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Jai. Okay, then we're in Adi-lila, beginning of chapter 3. And I like to read the summary of the chapters given by Srila Prabhupada. It's not often done, but I like to do that. I think it gives us a thorough background and kind of situates our mind and intelligence in the flow. We know which way he's going. We know the flow of the presentation of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami based on our brief hearing of the introduction, the summary of the chapter. And I think Srila Prabhupada has drawn this from his Guru Maharaj, who did a thorough interpretation of the Chaitanya-charitamrta and most probably presented introductions. So, chapter 3. In this chapter, the author has fully discussed the reason for the descent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, after displaying his pastimes as Lord Krishna, thought it wise to make his advent in the form of a devotee to explain himself personally, the transcendental, mellow reciprocation of service and love between himself and his servants, friends, parents, and they say fiancés, which is like, okay, that's a materially acceptable phrase, but we know it's actually something more than that. It's exchange of love based on leaving behind all external restrictions and limitations. These are all married ladies, or at least most of them, who are dancing with Krishna in the night, giving up everything for Krishna. Okay, according to the Vedic literature, the foremost occupational duty for humanity in this age of Kali is Nama Sankirtan, or congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. So Nam Sankirtan. And we have opportunity daily to do that, to bring the holy name forward into the sound, into the area that we're in. And by the potency of the sound, it will, enter our ears and actually blast through the exterior covering and touch our hearts, touch our souls. This is the power of Nam Sankirtan. The incarnation for this age especially preaches this process, but only Krishna himself can explain the confidential loving service performed in the four principal varieties of loving affairs between the Supreme Lord and his devotees. So we know the four different types, Sakya Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, Shanta Rasa also, and Madhurya Rasa. And within each particular rasa, there's different varieties of exchange, practically unlimited varieties of exchange, because there's unlimited servants and personalities, and each has a particular approach in his relationship with Krishna. Each has a particular nature. It's not as though everybody's got the same nature. Everybody's different, like in this world. There's rarely anyone, you might find someone who's very similar to you or something, looks very similar, has similar nature, but there's always some difference. And why is that? Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. The truth is, we're all different. But the final reality is, we're also all one. We're all together as souls acting differently and perceiving differently, in this case based on our coverings, but also our beginning developments of awakening of Krishna consciousness. And in the spiritual world, everybody's different based on the difference of their devotional moods. You know, how cool. Krishnadas Kaviraj has herein presented much authentic evidence from Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures to substantiate the identity of Lord Chaitanya with Sri Krishna himself. So the previous chapter, Kaviraj Goswami has described so much about the nature of creation and how the material world has come about, how it's all maintained, and how Krishna is behind everything. And now Kaviraj Goswami, in this chapter, is going to establish that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is that self-same Krishna. And not only that, he's going to show us how that personality manifests in terms of spreading the Yuga Dharma, Harinam Sankirtan, and also in terms of his own personal experiencing of the loving devotion of his devotees, headed by Srimati Radharani. He has described the bodily symptoms in Lord Chaitanya that are visible only in the person of the Supreme Lord, and he has proved that Lord Chaitanya appeared with his personal associates like Sri Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivas, and other devotees to preach the special significance of chanting Hare Krishna. The appearance of Lord Chaitanya is both significant and confidential. Okay, significant because he's giving the Yuga Dharma. Confidential because he's, throwing himself, in a selfless, almost uncontrolled way into the mood of his beloved devotee and becoming lost in that. And we see in the pastimes, all his limbs elongate and he passes out and gets lost, and you'll see all these pastimes where Mahaprabhu is engaged in this confidential, transcendental experience. And the close associates of him, Swarup Damodar, Ramananda Roy, they assisted him in experiencing these high rasas, tastes that are exclusively present in Srimati Radharani, but here Krishna has come down and he's going to experience those in intense ecstasy. He can be appreciated only by the pure devotees and only through the process of devotional service. So appreciation comes from a pure vision. And by the grace of the Lord, we have pure Vaishnavas who have given us a chance to grow in our vision. They've given us some preview of what's possible by the presence of their own, individual, transcendental, loving personalities. We have seen definitely the possibility of growth in Krishna consciousness by the presence of great pure Vaishnavas, like Srila Prabhupada, who's writing this. And by Srila Prabhupada and by Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, we get some sense of their Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who we observe these great devotees are engaged in their lives are fully given to that Guru. They're not, talking about being already in pastimes with Krishna. They're talking about service to their Guru, who's directly connected with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's their focus, that's their emphasis, that's the reality of the consciousness of a genuine developed Vaishnava in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we have chance to see these great Vaishnavas, and we're very fortunate. Only through the process of devotion, only pure devotees can see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He can be appreciated only by pure devotees. The Lord tried to conceal his identity as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by representing himself as a devotee, but his pure devotees can recognize him by his special features. So we'll hear how the Vaishnavas, the pure Vaishnavas, are seeing Mahaprabhu in so many different ways, exhibiting his position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And others who are, not pure, they give mundane interpretations. Like at university, I read this, this analysis by this, big professor of Bengali at University of Chicago, who gave the first positive review of Srila Prabhupada, which was printed in the Gita. His name was Edward Dimmock. But actually he wrote somewhat negative review, but the devotees edited it and picked it out and made it look positive. So he complained, and the next edition they had to take it out because the guy was just, offensive. He thought the real followers of Mahaprabhu were the one of the 13 Sahajya sects. I forget which one. Maybe the balls, I think he thought were the true representatives of Mahaprabhu. So he was just crazy and offensive. So viewing things in a mundane way. I was going to say, they think that the externalists, even lower than this Professor Dimmock, because he kind of accepted that Mahaprabhu's symptoms were real, but he thought that because Mahaprabhu exhibited those symptoms, others would and should also exhibit them. So the bowels are, rolling on the ground and doing all this stuff that we know from our gurus that, the real Vaishnavas don't show that because they want to engage in positive devotional service to spread the nature of the holy name. They have no need to exhibit symptoms. They exhibit their symptoms of devotion and dedication through conveying the power of the holy name. And we know them in that way, not by crying or rolling on the ground and all this stuff. We know from them that these are just, exhibitions of people who are, imitating what is Mahaprabhu, thinking that through this imitation, they'll develop, love and affection by faking it. And this is just, Sahajya, and it's not genuine. We know that. Okay, as pure devotees recognize him, the Vedas and Puranas foretell the appearance of Lord Chaitanya, but still he is sometimes called, significantly, the concealed descent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because he represents himself as a devotee, oftentimes he says he's not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but oftentimes he'll exhibit transcendental forms that are only possible by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Mahaprabhu is taking one particular form, but now and again he's just slipping into pastimes, exhibiting himself, in different ways. Sometimes as Vishnu seated on a throne. Sometimes he goes into the mood of Balaram and plays. And sometimes I think there's a Vigraha form and a Nrsinga Chaitanya form, all these things that Mahaprabhu exhibits his, transcendental features in such a way so that his position as Sri Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is unmistakable. He must be. And the Vaishnavas see it like that. And by hearing Sri Chaitanya-charitamrita describe these things, the sound given by Kaviraj Goswami enters into our heart, and the truth of that conveyance by Kaviraj Goswami becomes a natural part of our life. This is the blessing of Kaviraj Goswami, which our gurus see clearly. Therefore they tell us, read Chaitanya-charitamrita and engage in service. And by that combination, the service will open your heart, and the hearing will transform your heart. So Advaita Acharya was contemporary of Lord Chaitanya's father. He felt sorry for the condition of the world because even after Lord Krishna's appearance, no one had interest in devotional service to Krishna. So we're told by our gurus that Krishna came and gave the truth of existence to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, but he didn't really give the direct means through which we can realize that truth. Of course, sarva dharmam parityagya mamekam sharanam braja. He says, just surrender and I'll protect you. But the means through which we can surrender was not so clear. I'm sure people could find it by their own sincerity. But particularly Mahaprabhu descended to convey to us the means through which we can actually develop real sincerity through the positive sound of the holy name. And by the grace, in our case, of Srila Govinda Maharaj, we have a temple where we can learn and serve together and grow in Krishna consciousness. This is why Srila Govinda Maharaj made, in the prayer to him, we hear many ashrams all over the world, so that, people can get the chance to serve, soften their hearts, or, plow the ground into which the seed is going to go, and then hear and receive the seed, or receive the flow of the, transcendental flowers of the sound into their heart. And, in that way the heart softens and grows and develops by the grace of Kaviraj Goswami and all of our gurus. Okay, Advaita Acharya was a contemporary of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's father. He felt sorry for the condition of the world because even after Lord Krishna's appearance, no one had interest in devotional service to Krishna. This forgetfulness was so overwhelming that Advaita Prabhu was convinced that no one but Lord Krishna himself could enlighten people about devotional service to the Supreme Lord. So we know at that time, the prevailing understanding in Navadvip, which was actually the center of developed thinking about spiritual realization, was it's a kind of a very negative view about the word. It's not this, it's not that, it's not that. I forget what it's called in Sanskrit. But anyway, there was that kind of understanding, and then many different varieties of, jnana, approach to the Lord through interpretation of the scriptures based on our admittedly, as far as we and our gurus are concerned, limited intelligence. So there's so many systems that have developed and appear even in the Shastras that, help one develop in jnana, help one develop in renunciation, and all these things. But they're not the final stage. And these people were saying, this is the final stage. This is how you realize, mostly it was Brahman, how you merge into Brahman by becoming fully realized in the absence of any reality in the temporary world. Srila Prabhupada talks about that. Neti, neti, neti. Not this, not this, not this. But then what is it? It's all not. But then they say, oh, it's Brahman. Which is just the highest negative analysis of the material world. Comes to the point of, oh, we're all spirit. And they unintelligently and driven by ego conclude that means we're all God. And Srila Prabhupada says it's the last snare of the ego. So it's all ego. So they're sitting there with no material connection, sitting there in the spiritual realm with ego. And what comes from the soul itself and gets filtered through the ego is desire. So that they're trying to deal with that, just keep it merged, but eventually it just doesn't work anymore, and they come back down and take a body, probably in the heavenly planets, and exhibit their desire through their particular material body. And maybe have a chance to figure out that this desire is eternal, and this desire has to do with our service to the Lord. And ultimately it has to do with our loving reciprocation with the Lord. This is their blessing. Therefore, Advaita requested Lord Krishna to appear as Lord Chaitanya. Offering tulasi leaves and Ganga water, he cried for the Lord's appearance. So this Advaita Prabhu is, pure Vaishnava, and he sees the condition of the world, and because he's a realized pure Vaishnava, sitting in the world, he knows, he can see everybody's really sick, and everybody's really suffering, and I really want to help them, but I don't have the capacity. So Krishna, you please descend. He's begging him, offering tulsi leaves, Ganga water, and most importantly, his heart. This is a pure Vaishnava, and by his grace, Mahaprabhu descends. As such, being pleased by Advaita Acharya, Lord Chaitanya appeared. Okay, I'm just going to read a couple of verses. We're going to go over a little bit, but we should start the verses. So Mahaprabhu starts with Sanskrit. Sri Chaitanya Prabhum Bande Yat Padasraya Viryataha Sankhatyakara Vratad Agya Siddhanta Sanmanim. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By the potency of the shelter of his lotus feet, even a fool can collect the valuable jewels of conclusive truth from the minds of the revealed scriptures. Chaitanya Prabhu, Lord Chaitanya, Bande, I offer my respectful obeisances. Padasraya, the shelter of his lotus feet. Okay. Viryataha, virya, of course, by the power of. Sanganati, like Sanganati means, Sangha we know means come together, sadhu Sangha and stuff. So this Bengali, Sanganati means to collect, to bring things together. Akara Bratat, this is like from the multitude of minds. So this is where Prabhupada says gems. You collect together these things from so many minds. And what is it you collect? You collect gems, like diamonds and rubies and emerald. All these things are used to be present in India in vast quantities. Now, even today, after so many thousands of years of these minerals being taken out, India is still one of the major sources of all these rare precious gems. And some of them, they're the major source. Maybe it's rubies and emeralds. Diamonds, of course, is South Africa. So anyway, even a fool, where's that fool? And agya, so agyana, someone who doesn't know anything. Agya means a fool. Siddhanta, that we know Siddhanta, that's the conclusion. Here we go. Satmanim. Satmanim. translated as the best jewels, but we know Sat means like eternal. So these jewels are eternal jewels. They're not just temporary jewels that you put in your hand and sell in the market or make an ornament to make yourself look, attractive or powerful or something. These jewels are eternal, and they have to do with the conclusive truth that comes from the minds. And the minds of what? Srila Prabhupada tells us, the minds of scriptures. Akara vratat. I'm not sure which is which, but one is the minds, many minds, and one is scriptures. So again, I'll read the English, and then we'll do one more sloka. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. By the potency of the shelter of his lotus feet, even a fool can collect the valuable jewels of conclusive truth from the minds of the revealed scriptures. So again, by the potency of the lotus feet, even a fool, that's us, can collect the valuable jewels of conclusive truth from the minds of the revealed scriptures. So Mahaprabhu's grace comes through our gurus, and we have the mind of revealed scriptures, and we can read it and begin to unearth the conclusive truth that's going to wake us up. And every line, every word given by Kaviraj Goswami, inspired by Nityananda Prabhu directly about the transcendental life, and in this case we're working on understanding the high transcendental identity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All these things are coming to the agya, these people who don't know anything, the fools, and are revealing the nature of Mahaprabhu and the nature of the reality of our connection with Mahaprabhu and our eternal loving exchange with Mahaprabhu. And the more that this enters us, the more we get a sense of, a beginning sense of Sat Chit Ananda. We start to realize that, whoa, this body really is just a set of clothes. Like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, forget the verse, but he says, just as you change clothes, so you change bodies. So in the same way, we switch bodies, and it's not that big of a deal. And the material world is just a fading shadow that more and more we'll see has been produced by the illusion of our consciousness, and gradually it will almost fade away, but still while we're here be apparent to us as an illusion that's designed to point the living beings toward the Supreme Personality through the understanding of the emptiness of the material world. We can't find what we need here in this world. Okay, and this is just quick. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya, Jai Nityananda, Jai Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Okay. Jai Sri Chaitanya-charitamrta ki Jai, and we'll begin tomorrow reading text 3. Now, O devotees, please listen to the meaning of the 4th verse with full attention. So there's, in the beginning, there's I believe 14 verses, and now Kaviraj Goswami is covering each one in detail. And the next one we cover is number 4. 3 has been covered about the nature of Krishna as the Supreme Person. And now the 4th will educate us as to the the nature of Mahaprabhu as Sri Krishna himself, and what he does, how he's Krishna, how he's manifests his form, and so many things will be given to us to through sincere reception, and in my case, trying to be sincere conveyance, we grow in our spiritual life. It has potency. We have to remember that and try to feel that and know that in our head. Even if it's just like, it's a sadhana. It's like we tell ourselves, yes, this is going to come through. And the more we, have faith like that, or at least try to bring out faith like that, the more effect this will have on us. So, we have to get into the readings and, try to live there. And the effect will be greater and more powerful, and we'll come closer in our lives to the ideal that we all carry in our hearts, which is full surrender to our beloved gurus. Okay. Jai. Shri Chaitanya-charitamrta ki jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhakti Nirmala Acharya Maharaj ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswatamat Acharya Brinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Bolo. Jai Jai Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Hari Hari Bol.